Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, back with some more Pittsburgh Steelers preview and prediction for this Week 17 game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Seattle Seahawks. Both teams 8-7 in desperate need of a win to keep their playoff hopes alive. Let's talk about it. And before we start, if you guys could like this video, also subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate that. Just a quick run through of some thoughts overall on Seattle in this game. Their offense, quarterback Geno Smith is healthy. He's back, got the win over Tennessee in late dramatic fashion last week. He's a really good quarterback, and he's not playing at quite the level of last year, and it's probably unrealistic to expect that to occur again, but I just think there's a really strong group of eligibles to throw to and to work with in the pass and the run game. And it's a lot for Pittsburgh to handle. You talk about the receivers, their top three, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and the rookie, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Now, we assume Metcalf's going to play, currently dealing with a back injury. Pete Carroll seems optimistic, but, you talk about a matchup in a best versus best kind of deal. It's going to be Metcalf on Joey Porter Jr., who's going to win that battle. That's going to be more of a fight than a wrestling match than probably more football. But there's going to be lumps on both sides in terms of some guys will win, some guys will lose their reps, but who makes that play late in the game, that's going to be key. But I think beyond that, because that gets all the focus, and understandably so, can Pittsburgh cover the other eligibles, especially with the secondary hurting? Patrick Peterson very likely to be the starting safety, a free safety again for Pittsburgh with Minka Fitzpatrick out of this game. So you have the likes of, Levi Wallace on maybe Tyler Lockett, and Chandon Sullivan will see a continued, large role of slot snaps. Can he deal with Smith and Jigba, or even Lockett, because he can play in the slot? So obviously Metcalf is the guy that can really make some crazy plays downfield, but I worry about just as much, if not more so, Lockett and the number two and number three type guys really getting involved. Smith and Jigba, one of their top third down targets. He's got more third down receptions than Lockett and Metcalf, despite having fewer overall receptions than both of those guys. So you look towards him on third down. They're deep at tight end. They run as much 13 personnel as any team in football. Noah Fant's a really athletic guy. You imagine they're going to try to utilize him over the middle of the field with Pittsburgh hurting at inside linebacker, at safety. No Minka Fitzpatrick, no Trenton Thompson, no Landon Roberts this week. Fant had a really hot start to the year, has been quiet since, but I think he's going to do some damage. They're going to at least give him the chance to do some damage against Pittsburgh in this one. Conceptually, the run game, I think it's, relatively varied, probably a bit more zone heavy. It's not been especially strong. They have not run the ball a lot, even on first down this year. It's Kenneth Walker. He's questionable going into this game, and Zach Charbonnet, the rookie from UCLA. Two guys that I think are athletic, that have power, and can do some damage after contact. I think conceptually, they run some kind of funky looking formations, back offset, multiple tight ends, and kind of a sidecar, almost, I don't know, wing T ish type of formation. So they do some interesting things conceptually that Pittsburgh really hasn't seen much of this year. In the pass game, the concepts, it's a lot of mirrored and 2x2 looks. Occasionally, they're going to try to isolate backside on Metcalf, but it's kind of some more easier triangle reads for Geno Smith to work through and towards. The O line maybe tested the tackles, Charles Cross and Abe Lucas. Cross was a top pick, and I thought he had some struggles in the tape that I watched, but that'll be a really fun battle between him and Highsmith. And then Lucas, who got hurt after week one, missed about 2 months or so, came back about a month ago. Him versus Watt, and they're going to chip. I mean, you see these guys; they're designated chippers at times, where they're aligning as the wings. I should say that the tight ends or the backs. They're not going to leave those tackles on islands. Almost no team does against Watt and Highsmith. But you kind of see it's almost Buffalo like. Buffalo in past years would have true, chippers and wings. You could tell just pre-snap they were going to, block and release and slow down that pass rush. So Pittsburgh usually counters with stunts and twists to try to, loop a Watt or a Highsmith inside. So that may be key. I think Smith has been under some pressure recently. They've not run the ball, again, terribly well or efficiently. So Pittsburgh can make Seattle one-dimensional like the Bengals last week. That's obviously in Pittsburgh's wheelhouse. Defensively, I like the talent overall for Seattle. I think the D line is strong, but the numbers have not been quite there. They've been run on. That's kind of been their big issue is that teams have had a lot of success on the ground. And of course, Pittsburgh has to run the ball in order for them to have a chance and be effective and run the offense the way that they want to. It's more of a one gap kind of penetrating approach that Seattle runs, and they have the talent at the defensive tackle position to support that with Leonard Williams and Jared Reed and his second stint in Seattle having a really strong season, 7 sacks. I think on tape, just a lot of the power game, the gap schemes, being able to kind of down block and back block and seal off some of those penetrators, was able to kind of create some running lanes. I thought Philadelphia had a lot of success with their power run game and full blocks with a center and guard, or just more traditional, pull the backside guard across. Kind of seemed to eliminate some of that penetration that Seattle was trying to get, especially with Reed, number 90 in particular. So I think that's going to be Pittsburgh's ticket. But generally, more downhill. The run defense in the middle has not been what Seattle had hoped for. One of their top linebackers, Jordan Brooks, he's questionable in this game, expected to miss, but we'll see if he's out. Devin Bush, former Steeler, should see some action in this one, see a lot of action in this one. And then Bobby Wagner, the tackles there, he's third in the NFL in tackles, but the tape did not seem as strong as past years. He seemed to be a little slow recognizing things. The speed isn't there. He's an older guy, obviously, so you kind of expect that. But point is, Seattle can be run on, and I think the power run game is going to be key for Pittsburgh. In the secondary, Seattle used to be, old school cover three under Gus Bradley. He's now in Indianapolis. Pittsburgh saw him in Week 15. It's a kind of different system. It's still primarily zone based, but you kind of see some more combination coverages and 3-by-1 sets. For example, they're gonna, Seattle often will play zone to the trip side, the 3 receiver side, and then lock the backside X receiver. Could that create some 1v1s for George Pickens? I think it can. Deontay Johnson, can he separate? It's a possibility. So you kind of see some mixing and matching, some more cover 6, and not as much of the traditional cover 3 they used to run, 5-10 years ago. My takeaway for the secondary Seattle is it's a really good group. And to me, it's almost in a sense, in a narrow sense, maybe more than narrow is what I'm trying to say. A Legion of Boom, because there are some really athletic, kind of freaky looking guys in the secondary. Reek Woolen is one of those guys that just, can match, size and length with Pickens. Very few guys can do that, but I watch them on tape and these guys can hit. I mean, these guys are as physical of a secondary as you're going to find. Devin Witherspoon, the rookie from Illinois, he's going to probably come back. He missed some time. He's going to play that nickel spot and he's all over the place. And this guy has some of the most physical and violent tackles you're going to see. He's got 65 tackles on the season, a couple for a loss. He's got 3 sacks. He's got a pick 6. I mean, this guy really makes an impact. But even beyond him, he's kind of the obvious name. Just watching Tennessee in their play action game last week, it really was not effective. And the secondary closed well. They were disciplined. They were well coached overall. And these guys can hit. Julian Love, he can hit. He's got 4 picks. Diggs can hit. Again, the corners have some size. They're an intriguing group overall. They make some plays on the football. So just want to see how that all kind of develops. I think play action is going to be tougher for Pittsburgh, even if the run game starts to generate some traction and it's a weapon for them. I think generally speaking, Seattle's well coached in the back end. I will say for the D line, they have a lot of sacks, 45 of them on the season. The pass rush has maybe waned a bit, although they sacked Tannehill 6 times in that game last week. But some of their leaders, Mafe, has maybe cooled down after a hotter start overall. I think those ends do seem to kind of rush a little too freely, a little too loosely, and it creates some escape lanes, and their rush lane integrity is not ideal. Now, Mason Rudolph's a quarterback, and he's not exactly fleet of foot, but just something to keep in mind there. And then quick note on the specialists. Really, punter is what I'm honing in on. They got a great punter, Seattle does, and Michael Dixon. His net average is better than Presley Harvin's gross average. It's by a very narrow margin, but we're talking net post-return versus the gross, which is where the ball is caught or down. So from a field position standpoint, those kind of things that are always important in what you would expect to be a close game, I see Seattle with the advantage, and Harvin really has to step up his game because he's been pretty poor the last month. All right, for my prediction, and I really wrestled with this one. I don't have confidence really in expectations for these games at this point. I'm just kind of taking it as it goes. Rudolph and his, second start of the season, can he match what he did against the Bengals? It will be tougher. There's tape on him. He's on the road. I think Seattle's defense overall is better and probably just a bit healthier than where the Bengals were at last week when they were out there, without their top cornerback, and Hendrickson got dinged up mid-game, all that kind of stuff. So bottom line, I got Pittsburgh winning this one 21-20, really close, could go either way, but I'll believe that Rudolph is able to play from the pocket well enough that Pittsburgh defensively can make Seattle more one-dimensional, contain and quiet that Seattle run game, which has not been that effective to begin with. And those are generally the formulas in which Pittsburgh is able to come out with victory. So would not be surprised on the Seattle victory. I'm sure some people would wish I picked Seattle, so it goes the other way. That often happens sometimes, but that is my prediction. All right, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you guys watching. Again, please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. Check out the site SteelersDepot.com. We'll have a lot of coverage and recap for you after the game Sunday and throughout the week. Want to wish you guys a happy new year. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.